You can see the posters in the background, and
Look at that. Yeah, amazing.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. Local Plymouth the record store was they had it in there and they gave it to me because they knew I was
That's
such
good.
a fan.
Oh,
Strange
how
Free
nice.
World right here as well.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so great to meet you here.
Oh, oh,
I've had Mickey Bereni on this channel, and who else? Dean Garcia from Curve.
brilliant.
Yeah, so a lot of your contemporary indie alternative guys, post punk guys.
So how long have you been doing this for?
Um, well, I would say I've been into this kind of music, this whole ethereal guitar thing since 2014. So yeah, good like
Okay.
10 years now. I'm only 31, so kind of started off with the 2000s kind of band, but I I finally
And now
grew
archive.
admiration for the whole kind of dream pop shoegaze thing, if you will.
So now you're chatting to the old folk. We'll talk about their experiences.
Yeah, maybe. But well, there's still lots of great bands that in the similar kind
Do
of
that.
ethereal vein.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
just
yeah.
look on KXB and Audio Tree and stuff. So lots of good stuff to find there. Okay, so I got my copy of
Ah,
Convalescence. So yeah,
excellent.
under the name of Stephen Hero.
Yeah.
What made you choose that name?
That's a name I've been using now for 25 years. Um, what it was is I recorded my first solo record under the name Fruit, and it sort of did really badly. And so I sort of retreated from music, and oh, there it is, yeah, and ended up doing moving to rural Ireland. And in rural Ireland in 1999, I started recording again, and I thought, oh, there's no point. The band is over, my solo career is over, music's over. I'm going to just ditch it all. And my partner said, don't do that, don't do that. And because I was just going to actually just chuck it all, get my computer and just throw it in the sea.
Wow.
I was just messed up with it all.
Mm,
Uh, and the story is that James Joyce's first draft of one of his books was called Stephen Hero, and he was going to burn it, and his wife pulled it out of the fire and
right.
saved it. And
Okay.
I just thought, well, there you go. It's my Stephen Hero version of pulling this out of the fire. So since then, I've done about 5 or 6 Stephen Hero records over the years, in a really small way because of the damage of being on a record label.
Mm,
Oh my God. You
mm,
just want to
yeah,
have your control over your art again. So, which is why I've done it in a fairly small way.
for sure. Yeah.
But
Great.
this record is much more of a looking back at the Kitchen's days and how we did those big sounds and how we did those big noises.
Mm.
Because unfortunately, the band won't reform. Guitarist isn't having.
Well, that was one of my questions coming up at the end. Is there
Oh,
a
I'm
chance
sorry.
of a COD reunion?
So I did ask again last year, and it was a very firm no.
Mm.
Because we're all alive. I just said it's last chance, and it was like no. Okay, fine. I stop asking, but I still wanted to make music that sounded a little bit like that because it was in my head for some reason. So in a way, I've been trying to channel Julian's guitars a bit on this record.
Yeah, I did realize that. I did hear that, and yeah, lots of dreamy elements to it, and lots of guitar work, and I like the drum programming. Is that
Yeah, that was for someone who can't play drums. That was really hard work as well. So that was not what I wanted to do was make this record with a band, and I just thought this would be great if Kitchens played these tunes, um, but it didn't happen. So I ended up trying to make it like that ish. So here I am in my
did a great
studio where
job?
I did it.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
great home recording.
yeah, in
Amazing.
my little.
Yeah, so yeah, it's brilliant, and pretty starstruck, to be
Ah,
honest.
oh, won't be. Ah,
It's really cool to
just
see those guitars hanging up and stuff. That's really cool.
well,
Yeah.
it's a small room. The only way to look after them is just to have them hanging up. I've got my bass here, which you probably can't. I'm not sure you can see it, but this is my old kitchen's bass.
Brilliant.
Oh, so
Wow, that's the one.
that's the one. I played
Dun, dun,
Drive
dun,
That.
dun, 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 dun. I can hear Drive That Fast right now. Dun, 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 dun. And Railway Man. Dun, 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 dun. That's one of the most joyous bass riffs I've ever heard, by the way, Railway.
Railway.
I love the way how it's just like kind of throbbing away and wow.
Well, the issue was that I didn't know how to play bass. I was the guitar player. We were both guitarists, and obviously Julian was better than me, so I ended up playing bass.
Okay.
But all I knew was how to strum.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was strumming bass, a bit like Peter Hook. I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Brilliant. Never knew that. Yeah. Great fact. Well,
That's what
using a pick.
It worked. Yeah. So I use a pick. Don't use my
Yeah.
fingers. It's terrible. Very bad bass player. But it
No,
just works.
it's
It's
no
like
rules.
the lower end of guitar, and then Julian's wafty sound over it. Doesn't have to have that articulation of a regular guitar. It can be very floaty. Yeah.
But I think
basically what worked out.
Yeah, and I think by playing that way as well, by playing the bass like a regular guitar, I think that probably had to happen in that 3-piece because the bass had to be more prominent really to make up for the space of the lack of a second guitarist.
Yeah, that was the criticism I had from an early manager guy who came to see us and said, "You need another guitar player." We were just it would just have ruined the dynamic. Really
I wouldn't say a criticism though. I would say I think it makes it really cool. It's even cooler that you were a trio and made such a great noise.
And it was a good noise. Live, I think it probably worked best live. It was.
Yeah. I mean, I can only judge by the YouTube videos that I see, and you do sound massive. Which that's why it's a shame that you that you're not reforming really, because I'm never going to get a chance to see COD.
Well, you never say never, really, and I'm hoping to do some shows of my own later this year, maybe September time, and I will keep asking, and maybe Julian will turn up and play a song or two. You never know.
Great, yeah. What's his why is he against it for?
Oh, I just think it's just the trauma of being in a band the ending wasn't good. And I think, like for most bands that stop, it makes you just not want to do it anymore. It wasn't that we fell out; it was just the circumstances of business. It was just horrible. So I don't know. I also think that he wants to do something. If he was going to do music, he'd be doing something much more ambient now. It wouldn't involve necessarily drums and that. It would just be much more ethereal. So there's a couple of B-sides that he did with Kitchens called Skin and Air Shifting, which were on the B-side of Breathing Fear. And that's just him. And I think that's what he would be doing now as music if he was doing it. Very, very ambient, wafting, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, Space Dolphins being another one as well.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. So I think, those 3 tracks as B-sides, if he took that further, that's what he'd be doing. Okay. And I hope he will. I really hope he does.
Yeah, and likewise with your with the Stephen Hero new album, it'd be great to hear Blind Minotaur live and Imagine Me Gone and a fingertip apart.
Okay, that's really tricky, but yeah. Again, I think I'll start off with just myself and a guitar player, and then if it works and if people are interested, because I've not played live for 10 years, if it works and there's interest, then try and get a band together, but start off with a smaller unit and see how we go.
Oh, definitely, yeah, it'd be great to see you give it a go, and because somebody at the Miki, I went to see Miki Berenyi trio at in the middle of Devon somewhere, like Newton Abbot Totnes area, and somebody there said, "Oh, I'd love to see Patrick do his solo work live. Maybe he could play that venue.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm hoping to get it together by September. Mickey's stuff is really inspiring as well. The way she's sort of got herself together, and I love the way her new record sounds as well. It's so beautiful, such a lovely thing. So big inspiration for me to get off my arse and do it.
Great. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I got some questions here.
Fire away.
I mean, you probably heard this one lots of times, but how hard was it for you, like being a gay man in the music industry? You know, obviously, Death of Cool was about the AIDS epidemic, wasn't it? And you know, how hard was it with that, the homosexuality business?
It was a really difficult. It was a really easy decision that, in retrospect, I probably should have done differently. What happened was, come 85, 86, I kind of was in a political environment where I thought this is all sorted, homophobia is gone, and I was wrong. And it was, I think, a braver decision than I realized to come out. When I first did it, it was to an NME journalist, and he said, "Do you want to put this in the interview?" And I said, "Well, why not?" And of course, he's a journalist, who he's not going to question that or say, "You're an idiot. What are you thinking?" So it was a really challenging thing to do. I'm glad I did it, because I never had to lie to anyone, but it was no doubt hampered the band and held us back. And Death of Cool was partly about HIV, but also I was splitting up with someone at the time, and it was a really difficult time. We're having a lot of fun in the studio, but emotionally it was a traumatic time. And me being me, I can't help but put that in lyrics. So,
well, yeah, I mean, certainly inspired some great lyrics, and yeah, very, very emotionally powerful album.
Oh, thank you. That's good to hear.
Yeah, congratulations for you know, being brave at that time and coming out. I think that was a really good move.
I didn't know it was.
Hopefully it led the way, you know, for other.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. You know, the people I looked up to who were really good at that, Boy George and Jimmy Somerville. You know, I've got a lot of time for them. Really, really great at the way they handled it. But they were just doing a very different kind of music, and I think the kind of music we did didn't lend itself to that culture. I don't know. I dither about it, because I think Julian definitely had his career held back because of me being vocal. They were very supportive, both Dan and Julian, but I think it definitely put a barrier in the way for people.
Yeah, well,
hey ho.
Yeah, thankfully things have moved on. Hopefully,
hugely.
Hugely. Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
Yeah, good.
Oh.
Great stuff. So another question: Did you feel aligned with the shoegazing bands at the time?
Yeah, I don't think we knew that it was a scene until someone told us it was. Because you're in it, you're not aware that it is a scene. So we were friends more with A.R. Kane to begin with, because Dan and Julian had been at college with them. So we knew Rudy and Alex, and we were doing shows with A.R. Kane. So it was probably more that side of things. And then got to meet Miki and Emma and Lush, and did a couple of shows with them with the House of Love. And then, did a show with Ride and Slow Dive, and you just think that you're all in different bands, and then somebody says you're all the same. It just never occurred to us that we were, because I think in my head we were doing much more vocal stuff. Well, it was, you know, me again doing my vocal stuff. Maybe the guitars had a similar sort of ambience to them.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't aware that it was a scene. It was sort of described later, Do you know what I mean? So journalists called us that when we were probably on our third album.
Mm.
And we
Yeah,
just
yeah,
thought, oh,
because you guys were super
Shoegaze.
early. Yeah.
And then Dream Pop came after that, I think. And I just remember A.R. Kane being called sort of Dream-like or Dreamscape or something. And then Dream Pop arrived. And it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
It's a good description for what, you know, for this
Mm.
sort of, this dreamlike music.
Yeah.
But then Cocteau Twins as well. Do they get lumped in with that? I don't know. Because they were definitely a big inspiration.
Yeah, yeah, they do, yeah. So
Are they
yeah,
Shoegaze?
brilliant.
I think so. But they were just very much that sound came from, I think, from Cocteau Twins,
Mm.
who then took their stuff from Banshees. So I can
Yeah.
see a lineage of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh,
In a
definitely
good
there
way.
is. Yeah. Yeah, because you were compared to the Chameleons, weren't you, at times? That's
Yeah,
what I
who I
read.
didn't really know.
Which,
I
yeah,
got
I would say you were a lot more powerful sounding, I would say, actually, than them.
okay. Just
Yeah.
not a band I know that well. I mean, I've done one show with them in later years, um,
Mm.
which is great. But it felt like very different music to me.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, great to hear that. Yeah, your take on that is interesting. Um, so yeah, the next one. Well, I said, is there any chance of a COD reunion? But you already answered that. What was your favorite Kitchens of Distinction release out of the 5 albums, including Folly?
I would say the record that represents most what we did was Strange Free World.
Yeah,
The one I like most, probably, says reaching for it. I think that's the most consistent one.
mm,
That's the one I think has just got, you know,
yeah,
Hugh Jones worked with us, and as a producer, he was brilliant, and he brought out the best in us. Um, Deathcore was a harder record to make, and I don't think we were quite as sure where we were going. Um, I've got a fondness for all of them, so I'm not going to have a favourite. I just think
yeah,
they all have different aspects, and to me, they're all like diary entries. You know, that's where we were at that point doing those things. Thing I find frustrating is that I think Love Is Hell is a great record. It's just the recording of it drives me nuts.
mm,
I wish it had been recorded properly.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It was a rush job, and we had some very bad advice from the record label saying you have to do program drums and you can't use real drums, and it's horrible. So finally, we got to use real drums on Strange Free World and Death Call, and then I was happy.
yeah, that's always good for really good news for Dan Goodwin. Yeah, yeah. Don't want to be replaced by a drum machine. The drummer's worst
And it wasn't
nightmare.
even that. It wasn't a drum machine. It was programming. It was, just going,
Oh,
horrible.
doing it by MIDI.
Doing it by MIDI.
Yeah, MIDI punching in kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
horrible.
Oh, yeah, that takes
Anyway,
forever. Yeah,
we
because
did it for one record because it was what the Sugar Cubes did on their first album, and I think everyone just thought, nah, we don't want to sound like an 80s gated snare band. We want to sound like we sound live.
yeah, yeah.
So that's what we did.
Yeah, he certainly did that to perfection. Yeah. You certainly did that to distinction, I should say. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I like the remastered version of Third Time We Opened the Capsule on
Oh
this
yeah.
like compilation, Still in a Dream. Very good compilation. Probably where I first heard you, actually. Like Third Time We Opened the Capsule was at the first. That was the first song I heard, probably.
Still
And
in a Dream. What? Who
yeah,
put that out?
A Story of Shoegaze, 88
Wow.
to 95.
I don't think I know.
Cherry Red Records put it out in 2016.
Wow. I think that passed me by.
Yeah, so it's a really good book, and that's where a lot of my knowledge started, I would say, about this whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'll
big
have to
fan
look
of.
at. I have to get a copy.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, that'd be great. It wasn't cheap though.
Oh, okay, right. Still in a Dream. I'll have to see if I know anyone at Cherry Red. So if I can blag one.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I actually visited the Sawmills where you recorded
Did
Death
you?
of Cool last year in February, because I actually lived not too far away. I mean, I'm in Plymouth,
Okay.
in
Right.
Devon, so it didn't take me long to get down to Cornwall and visit. And
Yeah. Not at all. Yeah.
I went with some mates who were in the band, so then I had the perfect excuse to go down there and
So were
just.
they
They were recording themselves. Yeah, I wasn't. I'm not in the band, but I just came as a friend, just someone.
working as a studio now?
Yeah. John Cornfield. I
It's
actually.
still there.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, and
Wow.
I actually interviewed him for this channel last year.
Oh, what a nice man. He was so helpful. He was so good. It was a great experience. Well, you've been there. It's an amazing remote place. And we had to get there by boat. I don't know if that's still the same thing.
Yeah, it's still the same. Yeah, I had to do
that.
that. Yeah, I had to get it from Foy. That was it.
From yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, and Hugh Jones.
Yeah,
John Cornfield said he didn't remember much of it, of the kitchen session. He just said Elisa's quadriverb or something. He remembers that.
It was pretty straightforward, easy session, and in a beautiful setting. Yeah, good memories of it.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were still open. I would go back there happily.
Yeah,
give them a play. Go to Sawmills; they're great.
Yeah, a bit of advertisement here on the channel. Yeah, but Blue Pedal is my favorite of Death of Cool.
Well, that's interesting. You're the second person who said that in recent interviews. The other guy who I did a podcast with recently said Blue Pedal was his favorite as well.
Just because of the short insanity. I don't know how did you get it so how did you get it so loud? How did Julian record those guitars without clipping? How?
I think it's because there's so many of them. That's how it was.
Layering.
So it was layering. I think it starts off with 4 and then it doubles. So 24 track studio, so you're limited, and then I think he was bouncing, but basically layers. Wow. That was the beginning of him sitting in the studio for hours on end, playing and playing and playing. Whereas I go in, sing a bit, and then bugger off. So that was all his work.
Wow, I'm sat here with a big smile on my face because I've been willing to ask that question for months and months about that song. Just the whole ginormity of it.
Well, it came out because
the enormity.
We found a setting on a pedal that put Julian's guitar, added a fifth above.
Aha, here we go.
You really want to know the teacher's detail of it. And so he found a way of playing fifths with the extra fifth, going through his reverb and delays that didn't cause clashes. And it's quite tricky to do that. And so I had to do quite a neutral bass to make that work. I didn't realize it would go on and on and on. It's a very long song.
Yeah. I had a beautiful moment though. I was on holiday in the south of France and just looking out over the water, the Med it would be, and that song I had in my earphones, and the light. It was dark. It was night, so you just see all the lights of the town. Near Nice, this was Ville-de-France.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful place, and I just sat on the balcony listening to it, thinking, "Wow, this is completely heaven." That was the moment.
So nice.
That was such a great moment. I remember that holiday through that song.
Written for that moment, Sam. Written for that moment.
Just the whole ambience, the atmosphere, just really enveloped me. Enveloped me. Yeah. I was listening. Gone World Gone as well. I listened to I think I listened to that 1-2 punch of Gone World Gone and Blue Pedal.
Well, that would be half an hour then.
Yeah, blissful stuff.
Blissful, progressive
half an hour.
shoegaze.
Brilliant.
I'm so glad that, I mean, literally for those moments, the music was designed to try and take it out of yourself or to highlight a feeling in a situation like you're describing. And then I come on and sing all over it, which kind of, never mind.
Chef's kiss.
Well, I'm glad you think so. Oh, God, that's great. I'm now going to have to go down to Villefranche and have a listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful place.
Nice.
I do only have a 40-minute limit on this, so it might only give me like 10 minutes more or something, but I don't know if it does run out of time. Do you want to continue on for a bit longer, or?
Well, we'll see how we go. Is there anything that you wanted to talk through?
Well, yeah, I mean, I pretty much got my main questions from the paper written down, all answered now. But personally myself, I study music production currently.
Okay.
I'm in my third year at DBS Music in Plymouth.
Nice.
And it's quite a renowned place. They got a campus in Bristol and they got one in Manchester now. So it's quite, I think it's quite industry standard, respected. We learn on the consoles in there.
Brilliant.
They got Neve console and SSL.
Oh.
So yeah.
Oh, there you go. So it was all SSL, everything. Because Hugh Jones insisted on SSL. SSL, and then Sawmills wasn't, was it? It was a Neve.
Oh, the Trident.
Trident, even. So he was very happy he'd done that at Abbey Road.
Yeah, because I learned from John Cornfield that the Trident, I can't remember the model number, 08 or something, but I don't know. The Trident desk it's been there since the mid-80s apparently. So
you see, there you go. That's why music production school, and I'm not. I make it up as I go along. So I do everything in Logic Audio, and off I go.
Yeah, I mean, I find it hard. I mean, I can imagine how hard it was for you to record Convalescence. I can imagine how hard it is because I'm doing home recording and there's so much mess in my mixing and so much rectifying I've got to do.
Yeah, well, the thing is just getting the recording right. That's the key bit. You just have to keep playing it over and over until it's right.
Yeah. Don't
settle for second best.
Getting it right at source.
You'll never fix it in the mix.
Yeah. True. Yeah, get it right at source, as they say. Yeah.
Get it right at source. Well, I would give you a tour of this place, but there's really not much else to see. All the magic is happening where you're talking through. It's all in the computer. I can't think of anything else exciting here. Got my valve compressors down there, which I quite like.
Oh yeah, what was that blue pedal that it was named after? That song, was it the?
I've got it right here. It's called a Digital Pitch Shifter Delay by Boss.
Right.
I don't know if they still make them, but that's what it was.
Yeah. The
along with a Memory Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Memory Man, very cool.
And going through
the quadriverb.
And the quadriverb, the vital quadriverb, yes.
Yeah. That's the one that's always listed in the gear list for Julian, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's online. If you go to the, they've got those guitarrig.com where they do the rundown things. And yeah, I do have a look on there, yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Probably your bass is probably on there somewhere as well.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, I have a Fender Precision Light. That's all I've ever used.
Brilliant.
And I love it. All my guitars are different, but the Fender Precision Light is my joy. What else have I got? Nothing else. I'm just thinking, is there anything exciting in here? Probably exciting to one other person, but no, there isn't. I want to give you an anecdote or something about kitchens that would just make you smile. And for the life of me. Okay, I can tell you two things that I think are funny. worth knowing.
Yeah.
When we got the first pressing of Love Is Hell, ran home with it, going, "Whoa, our first album!" Put it on. It was an orchestra playing, and it was, I think, Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto. They pressed the wrong bloody record.
Oh my God.
Heartbreaking.
No way. Wow.
And one of the just
Yeah.
anyway, so it didn't manage
Yeah.
not
Big
come out.
face palm moment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a rare 4-track version of The Death of Cool that the record label were thinking of putting out. Instead of a single, they wanted to put out half the album as a promo thing, which we were appalled by.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty mad. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they thought it was a brilliant idea, and they were so wrong. That's when things started to go awry. Yeah. God.
Yeah, the blooming record labels, hey?
Well, they just need to make money. I don't think there's much interest in art. But luckily, this record, my new record's come out on last night from Glasgow, have been really helpful and really useful. And Get It, you know, have been really, really good. Yeah,
that's
I think good for morale.
I think you guys should have been on like 4AD or Creation. I think.
Well, from my stories with my fellow shoegaze colleagues, I'm not sure it was that much better.
All right, okay.
I think it was, you know, different labels, different problems.
Yeah,
always
sure.
Problems though. But on we go, and you know, it's nice that people are still making music. Slow Dive making records, Ride making records, Miki making a lovely record. It's just nice, you know, people haven't stopped.
Yeah, the Valentine's MBV are playing Dublin in November.
Are they?
I got a ticket for
it.
Yeah, my Blade Valentine. It's going to be incredible, man.
It will be. I'm never going again. I got such bad tinnitus after the last time I saw them. I mean, it was amazing, but it was just too.
This is all I hear. Yeah, this is like the story I always hear about them. Yeah, just you need insane ear protection.
It was so loud, you know, it was ridiculous.
It's got to be it's got to be some kind of experience, though, isn't it? Something
you have to go.
From. Yeah,
just put I give you free earplugs, so wear them.
Certainly will, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the experience, isn't it? Yeah. You know, it's a story you can tell, isn't it? From
absolutely. You have to go.
After.
Well worth seeing live.
Brilliant. Do you reckon you boys were as loud?
No, they were the loudest band I ever saw by a mile.
Yeah.
And it was just sonically something else. We saw them at, I was with Miki and Emma from Lush. We saw them at Town and Country Club in London. And then I saw them when they reformed at the Apollo in Manchester. And I think that was even louder.
Wow.
But you're literally bone-shakingly loud. I've never experienced anything like it.
Well, I could better brace myself then.
You'll love it. It's great.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
You know, the music's fantastic, so it'll be a wonderful experience.
Yeah, well, just as fantastic as Kitchens.
Well, very different.
There's only a few great chefs in that band.
Yeah,
three great chefs. Yeah. That was my little phrase I was waiting to come out with about interviewing one of the chefs today. Is there any chance of getting Julian or Dan on here? Do they have emails or anything?
I think that would be really tricky. I mean, I can ask, but I'm any interested in doing anything.
Yeah, sure. They don't even want to do the reunion, so.
No.
Okay.
No, probably not. But it's nice to meet you, Sam, and thanks for asking.
Yeah, a real delight to see you, Patrick. You know, after discovering your band a few years ago. So it's been an amazing talk, and I learned a lot, you know, production from you and stuff. So that was great.
Cool. Nice to talk to you.
Okay.
Enjoy Valentine. Be great.
Yeah, thank you. Peace out, brother.
Cheers.
See you later. Bye. Bye.